Year's, everyone. Happy 2023. This is going to be our first box office report of the new year. So, Rich, take it away. Tell us what was the top 5 films at this past weekend's box office.
The number one film in America is Avatar: The Way of Water, once again, with $67.4 million. Coming in number 2 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, with $16.8 million. Coming in number 3 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, with $5.1 million. Number 4 is Whitney Houston: I Want to Dance with Somebody, with $3.9 million. And rounding up the top 5 is Babylon, with $2.6 million.
So I was completely shocked at those box office numbers for this past weekend, because it really seems that people went out this New Year's weekend and they went to the movies and they went to see Avatar: The Way of the Water. And I was kind of completely bowled over by how much Avatar was able to make this past weekend, because it did a little bit better than its second week, which I think is a remarkable number.
It did. And I think the weather, still not 100%, of course, but it did have spots throughout the week. That's when they went to go see Avatar and Puss in Boots and Black Panther, all making more money than they did last weekend.
I guess traditionally, or at least I was under the assumption traditionally, that people only went to the movie theaters on Christmas Day and didn't necessarily go on New Year's Day. But it seems like that has flipped this year.
Well, I was expecting Avatar and Puss in Boots to have a boost in the box office this week. I was kind of opposite of you. I wasn't expecting a lot of people to go to the movie theaters during Christmas this year or Christmas Eve. But what really surprised me was that Black Panther had a boost as well. I was expecting that to still have a drop, and I was actually expecting I Want to Dance with Somebody and Babylon to have a boost. Maybe not Violent Night anymore. Actually, probably Violent Night should probably be having much bigger drop than it did since Christmas is over. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm surprised that Black Panther is still doing so well in the box office, especially since Avatar is kind of similar.
Yeah, Avatar is so close to beating Top Gun Maverick already. I mean, it's going to match Top Gun total worldwide.
Yeah. So where do you think it's going to go? Where
I would say
it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, I would say it's easily going to get $2 billion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that before, but I think after watching these numbers and how well it's doing during the week, how much Avatar is doing well during the week, I would say, yeah, it's definitely going to probably get up there, going to get really close to $2 billion. And, we got to remember, it has the whole month of January to itself. I mean, yes, there's a couple big movies coming out, but it's going to stay in that second and third slot for a very long time. And I think that's why it's going to probably most likely pass $2 billion.
I think this is going to actually probably make like 2.5, and I was not expecting that at all. I thought 1.5 was guaranteed for this, but I wasn't expecting 1.5, this early. I was expecting a boost in the box office after Christmas, but the movie has been just doing extremely well throughout the week, not just in the weekends.
Right.
And I think also with the boost in ticket prices, because everyone wants to see this in the most premium, most expensive kind of format possible, and because of that, this movie's just a monster, and I don't know. I'm still not convinced that it's going to outgross the original Avatar and become the highest grossing movie of all time. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I think it's guaranteed to outgross Avengers: Infinity War and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And that would make it the 4th highest grossing movie of all time. And it would be right behind Titanic.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, he's pretty much did it again, James.
It might outgross Titanic also, I mean.
Yeah.
This really goes to show you that you can't bet against James Cameron. I really thought that he wasn't going to get this incredible number, because 2022 had these signs that, almost the decline of the filmmaker, the visionary filmmaker, or at least a blockbuster filmmaker. Early 2022, you saw the fall of Michael Bay. You saw the fall of Roman Emmerich.
Well, it's also kind of like what you're saying earlier. It's not just it's not just those type of movies. It's kind of also just these auteur-driven film.
Yeah,
everything underperformed last year except horror movies. And yeah, I was also really expecting this to underperform. I was still expecting it to do really well and quite possibly outgross Top Gun Maverick. But this quick, You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that's
just,
the shocking part.
this is like how kind of like Endgame and like some of those movies were kind of performing, but it did it in a weird way because it didn't even open, huge. It had a modest opening.
Yeah, respectable, very respectable
Yeah,
opening. Yeah.
a respectable opening, but it's not what we were kind of expecting, for a sequel to the highest grossing movie of all time.
Right.
But I mean, like you guys were saying, Cameron did it again, right?
And going back to what you were saying, Mike, I think Spielberg, I mean, The Fablemans.
Yeah.
If you asked me a year ago when West Side Story was such a bomb, I would say The Fablemans was going to bring his career back. I would expect The Fablemans to be a 50 million plus easily million. And it's certainly not.
I'll say really quick though, just because we're talking about Avatar and The Fablemans, I thought The Fablemans was a much better movie than Way of the Water. So I'll just say that.
It really seems like 2022, we saw the last movie star with Tom Cruise. And 2022, we saw the last big blockbuster director with James Cameron. And that seems like that's the case with these numbers coming in. Really remarkable, and it really exciting to see these numbers come in like that. Okay, now let's look at the rest of the top 10.
Coming in number 6 is Violent Night. Number 7 is The Whale. Number 8 is The Menu. Number 9 is The Fablemans. And number 10 is Strange World.
Okay, let's look ahead until next week. Rich, tell us what movies are coming out in theaters.
The only new movie opening up in wide this weekend is the new horror film, M3GAN. And opening up in limited release is the new Nicolas Cage Western film, The Old Way.
All right, now let's look at what's coming out on streaming. Rich, what movies can people stream this weekend?
On Netflix, you'll be able to stream The Pale Blue Eye. That's a new film from Scott Cooper starring Christian Bale. And you'll also be able to stream The Menu on HBO Max.
Okay, now let's talk about M3GAN, because M3GAN is this new horror movie that has become a viral sensation. Look, before we saw the numbers of this past weekend, I would have thought that M3GAN was going to be number one. Because I think it was going to be a huge hit. Now I think it's going to come in at number 2, but I still think it's going to have pretty good numbers for its first weekend. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's got very positive word of mouth so far. And I think it's going to be another crowd pleaser horror film.
I think the movie's going to do really well. I think the big question is, what are the legs going to be on this movie? For how long, will it perform? Is it going to be like other horror films and have a massive drop in the following weekend and then just be added to theaters like within a month? Or is it something that's actually going to stick around like Smile?
I think it might stick around. I think it really depends on how the reaction is. Now, it could be one of those movies that becomes a meme and catches on fire on social media and it becomes this thing where people need to go watch it for the second time or third time. Like already the trailer, the creepy kid dancing has become this kind of viral sensation already. And also, like you guys were saying, it's getting pretty decent reviews. So I'm thinking it's going to have a pretty decent opening. I think it's really going to kick off 2023 in a good way.
There's no horror films in theaters right now, right? And horror films that, is kind of brought up many times in the show and on other episodes, horror films are, what succeeded last year. So M3GAN has a good chance of kind of bringing that audience back.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a big hit for Universal once again and Blumhouse. And I think it's going to hold up into the theaters up until the Universal's next big hit, which will most likely be Knock the Cabin. Remember the M. Night Shyamalan? Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, I think the box office has been dominated by younger audiences. It's really the young people who are saying that M3GAN is might be their next favorite horror movie. And so I think they're the ones that are kind of driving the buzz for this movie too.
Yeah, they're already wanting a sequel with Annabelle and Chucky.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, I'm expecting pretty good things for this movie.
Sure.
All right, that's it for this box office report. Thank you for watching InsideFlix, and we'll be back next week, and we'll see how well M3GAN does in the box office, and we'll talk about the new movies coming out. All right, bye-bye.